Wow. Okay. So you're researching, and those are the wrong glasses. They're completely wrong. Those are 3D glasses meant for theater. That's why you can't see shit. Wrong glasses. Once again. Yep. Okay. Yep, those are the right glasses. Alright. Let's go. Wait a minute. Hold on. Why do I always gotta be the fucking voice of reason? Alright? What are you doing? Why every time I'm coming on here, you're not ready, you're not prepared, and you're doing some crazy shit? It's time to do the show. Alright. Can we move it along? And welcome back to the Comic Book ER Show, the show where I take characters from comic books that have been in live action and try to adapt their costumes so they're in-universe reasonable and so they're comic book accurate and not too dull, not too crazy. All characters, music, articles, so on and so forth, films, pictures, everything that you see is not owned by me, known by the respective characters, companies, creators is what I meant to say. As you can see, today our victim is the immortal Iron Fist, specifically Danny Rand from the show Iron Fist, and the Defenders show. Any art that you see me draw, however horrible it may be, is meant to be considered concept art. The reason why we're going on Iron Fist today, well, the reason why he's on the list, is because, well, although his story might be fine, it's just the show was boring. And there's a reason for that. The fight scenes were great, but the costume just needed... Okay, you know what? Let's just get right into it. So, Iron Fist, also the Danny Rand version of Iron Fist, was created by Roy Thomas and Jill Kane. Nice. Names I can pronounce. In 1974. And it looks like his first comic book was in Marvel Premiere number 15 in May. Wow. So, okay, this character has quite an interesting origin. So it seems that his father, who is Wendell Rand, and his mother is Heather Duncan. These people are rich people, business people that own Rand and Meacham Corporation. So they take their son on a trip to the Himalayas or something, because the father had found a magic city there before, and he saved some emperor guy. And later, after he leaves and goes back to America, the Danny Rand's father and mother became very rich people, and they wanted to come back to this magic city. So they came back, and they brought their friend with them, who was a business partner. Plot twist: a business partner kills Danny's father. Danny's mother and him fall down this area where they get separated from the guy who killed his father. And Danny's mother sacrifices herself to save Danny and get killed by a bunch of fucking bears or wolves or something. And that's when Danny gets found by these people from the Magic Land, Kunlun, where the guy who's like the leader there asks Danny what he wants, and he just says that he wants revenge. So they basically just raise him and train him all that time. And until he's like literally an adult, and then he fights this dragon for the role of Iron Fist, and it has like a thing on its chest, the symbol that you see, which is of the dragon scar symbol, and Danny, while he's fighting this dragon, he like attacks it in such a way where it burns the scar into his own chest, which is where he gets the symbol from. But it just looks like in the comics he just kind of wears like very thin clothing, you know, almost like sweatpants, a huge collar, and the often with his chest showing. Sometimes he's wearing a shirt that has the symbol on it, but he also does have that scar on his chest. And then he wears like a belt to insinuate that he is the Iron Fist, I guess. I guess he's a yellow. I mean, in like martial arts, that's to insinuate what belt you are and what level you are. So he's a yellow belt. But no, he's it's just because those are his colors, green and yellow. You know, and he wears a mask. And he is also like the 60, I think they said the 66th version of Iron Fist. There have been like literally obviously 66 people who had been Iron Fist before. A lot of various people. Some people that use guns. A lot of their costumes look very different, but some of them look very the same with the yellow mask and the green. I guess the current Iron Fist is a guy named Lin Lai. Currently Iron Fist. So that's good to know. But we're focusing on Danny Rand today because he's the only one that has a TV show. Okay, so... And then, you know, after that, he becomes the Iron Fist. And he's sworn to protect Kunlun and the world, I guess. And after that, he makes friends with Luke Cage. And they become heroes for hire, and then later they join the Defenders, you know, and then down the line, Danny's had a lot of adventures. He was even Daredevil once. I believe in Civil War, Danny Rand pretended to be Daredevil. Well, I don't know what Daredevil was doing, but apparently that happened. Yeah. Alright, so we'll go on to the TV show. So in the TV show, in the live action, it shows Danny Rand returning after all this time, and he looks like a hobo, and he's got these friends that don't recognize him, and he tells them that he's Danny Rand, and they're convinced that he's just a crazy guy. So you spend many episodes trying to convince these people that he's actually Danny. He even goes to a psych ward that they admit him in. And he has this power this whole time, doesn't show anybody, doesn't mention it, the more he talks about where he's been, he says, I am the Immortal Iron Fist, about 1,112 times. So he is the Immortal Iron Fist, in case you were wondering, in the TV show. And after that, it's established. He like does something with his magic hand, I think, and then they find out, oh, he's actually serious. He actually does have powers and shit. Could have done that in episode 1, but no. Nope. And then eventually, you know, as the show goes on, he does get his company back, but he's not good at the business part because he is a martial arts person. Got a similar origin, but here's the fun part. They don't show you. They tell you that he was in like a crash or something when he was a kid with his parents, and these people from Kunlun Magic Land found him, but you never see Kunlun. Only in season 2 flashbacks, and it's not really mentioned a whole lot in the first season, but you know, basically that's basically what happens. And in the show, he just has pants that he wears, and sometimes he just wears normal clothes, and often he just wears pants. So that's his costume, his pants and his chest. And see, this is one of those characters where they were so scared of putting him in an actual costume that they made it so damn dull that the show was basically dead on arrival. The moment that he appeared, and he came from Kunlun, right? So why is he dressed like a hobo? He had lived there his entire childhood and adult life. Why are they putting him back in clothing that's destroyed? Wouldn't he be in like some sort of clothing that would make sense to that fucking society? I'm just saying, because the first episode you've seen him, he returns from to America after going to Kunlun, living in Kunlun his entire fucking life. This entire time he's been gone, and he meets his friends, and they mistake him for some hobo. Well, why is he mistaken for a hobo? You know what I mean? Like, why is he not just? Why is he not like wearing clothing that makes sense to them? Like when the other guy appeared, eventually in season 2, he has like a friend who's the Steel Serpent, obviously, but he has like a friend who betrays him, and the Steel Serpent comes to take the Iron Fist from him, but he's wearing normal clothes. He's not dressed like a hobo, So why didn't Danny Rand, after living his entire life in Kunlun, left Kunlun and went, all right, I'm going to go back to America and see what's going on with my friends. And then he goes to New York, and he is dressed like your average hillbilly hobo on the street, under the bridge, troll man. Why is he wearing that? Why is he unkempt? I can understand if his hair is long and his like beard is long, but why is he wearing tattered clothing? If he's this immortal warrior, shouldn't he be wearing what an immortal warrior wears? Or at the least, something? It's like Kunlun is kind of like an Asian society, obviously, with all the their gods are like dragons and shit, same as Shang-Chi. When Shang-Chi went there, they gave him clothes, and what did he return with? What's he wear now? He wears that little shirt that his mom gave him. I mean, that's what he should be wearing, so I don't understand. This show really confuses the shit out of me, just from its lack of creativity, And I do have to give it some props. By some, I mean 1% props. After the Defenders show happened, which, by the way, he was just wearing a hoodie the whole time, not a hoodie like that matched or was green or anything. Sometimes he would even wear a suit and tie. Just like the comics, right? No. So, in season 2, he ends up wearing this, like, yellow mask that's it covers half his face. But it's literally I appreciate the attempt, but it's literally the opposite mask. So, I don't know why they gave him a mask that covers his bottom half, because it's his top half that needs to be covered. And he does that because he's inspired by Daredevil, who was not wearing a mask that looked anything like that. So that's cool. Anyways, when it comes to a character like this, it's just, I think what people are most afraid of is the huge collar. The huge collar really scares people. And it's the same with like characters like Doctor Strange. Like Doctor Strange had a giant ass collar in the comics, and they made it work. It's just like, you gotta bring it down to human reasonable standards, right? Like in a cartoon, in a comic book, on a page, looks really fancy, cool even, you know what I mean? But when it comes to putting it in live action, it does look a little crazy with a huge collar. So you kind of have to bring it down. I had a couple of ways that I did that. But this first one that you see, my idea was maybe the inspiration behind the collar. I believe this one was my idea of, this is what he looked like when he returned from home. This is what he should have been at least wearing. He should be wearing clothing that makes sense to that society. And so he's wearing like some sort of like workout clothes, because obviously they're a martial arts society. Kind of like the Ten Rings, but not evil. Anyways. So we still have the symbol that's burned into his chest, which you can do. That's fine. It's in the comics too. It's just they heavily, like, the whole show is based off that. It was like, it's just, his costume was just his chest. And that was it. His chest and whatever clothing, pants that he might be wearing. Sometimes he'd be wearing a robe, which makes sense that he would be wanting to wear a robe. So in that first one that I did is kind of like, he like bandaged up his like arms all the way to the wrists, just because it seems like in the comics he had kind of like these like arm guard band type of gloves, but when it came to his actual hands, he they're just, you know, they don't have any covering on them. But I had an idea that maybe he was wearing like a jump, like not a jumpsuit, but like a suit, you know, like a sweatpants and a sweatshirt that maybe it was torn so you could see his chest, that could simulate a collar kind of, but it's like a realistic way of making the collar trying to exist. And the second one I had an idea for was, this one was after he, so in the Defenders show, he ends up meeting Luke Cage and Daredevil, just like he does in the comics, except for there's a huge problem with the Defenders show. Daredevil's the only one wearing a costume, and the Iron Fist is the only other one besides maybe Power Girl, whatever her name is, Power Girl? I think it's Power Girl, but, or Jewel, or whatever in the comics, but in this show, she's just Jessica Jones, you know. Besides, maybe she should have a costume, but she could be a different episode one day, because that's a whole other can of worms. But the Iron Fist, he, like Daredevil, has lived in a similar situation where he's kind of like a ninja, you know. So I made a suit that was kind of like, what if after he meets Daredevil, yeah, sure, maybe season 1 he doesn't have a costume, right? Maybe that's, you can do that if you want, you know, if you just don't want to pay money on a costume and you just don't want to have any viewers. But maybe season 2, afterwards, after he meets Daredevil, maybe he has a Daredevil inspired costume. So that's what the second one was. And then I tried to keep sometimes he would have a crazy beard, you know. And the whole suit was really just modeled after Daredevil's suit. And instead of wearing like a mask that would like you tie in the back, it was literally like a half helmet, kind of like Daredevil's. This suit here is my idea. The one that you see on the left is my attempt to make a shirtless version of, because they were adamant that shirtless is what Iron Fist looks like in the show. And so I was like, you can do that, but at least give him some goddamn color. I mean, green and yellow, I see it nowhere. I mean, it's like, there was like one scene, I think, where he was wearing green, but it's like, that's not enough. You have to have him wear his fucking colors. You know, they're like goddamn Power Rangers. When they're not the characters, they're wearing similar colors when they're normal fucking people. It's a part of who they are. These colors are important to them. You know, the symbol is important to him. It's all he talks about, literally. He says, I'm the immortal Iron Fist. You can literally do a drinking game where every time he says that, you take a drink. I guarantee you, by episode 2, you will be plastered. Anyways, so my idea is that is a shirtless version, and then I made a low budget version, which is literally just a hoodie and a mask that is actually based off of Lin Lee's mask, or the mask from Marvel Rivals, the game, where it's like a half kind of mask, where it doesn't go over his hair, it just kind of only goes over his face, kind of like a bandana, I guess, but it just goes over your eyes, and then have a hood over it. The hood kind of similar to, it kind of simulates what the collar would be if it was there, you know, and then instead of a belt, it's just the yellow part of, literally is low budget. If you have to go low budget, then go ahead. You know, that's my idea for that. But my idea is maybe it's just throughout, it should evolve through time. It's like the first costume he should wear, it should not be something insane. You know, it shouldn't be the comic accurate costume right away. Or maybe if you want to go down that route, you can. But you remember in Daredevil, his first costume was just all black. And so, I mean, that's happened before. Like, we always say that the first costumes that they get are shit. And if they are good, if they're really good immediately, then you're like, okay, they had help, right? They're getting help from other people. But it's like, it's just to simulate that the character has their own sense of ability to create their own stuff. They're independent, right? They don't need people to help them, which is why you first give them a shitty costume, and then they evolve into a really, really cool costume that you later would love on the screen. Which is, there's two versions I'm doing here, which is my idea of what if he was in the Marvel universe, right, in the movies per se. So, and I tried to do all the a little bit of Marvel lines, as you can probably see there. But the second one you see is also my attempt at being like, okay, maybe this could be a possible first costume sort of situation, where he comes back and he's wearing kind of like a robe, and the symbols burned into his chest, and he's wearing the mask, and in their society, this is just what the Iron Fist, this is what, not only is what the Iron Fist is supposed to wear, because once again, there are 66 other people who worn this costume. So it's kind of like a ceremonial thing. So to not wear a costume and be the new Iron Fist is kind of being like, all right, I'm the new Batman, but I'm not going to wear a Batman suit. I'm just going to have a bat symbol on my chest and be naked and only wear shorts the whole time. See how it doesn't make any sense. So he kind of has to wear the costume because it's a mantle. And a mantle is passed down from generation to generation. So you can't just delete a costume because it's literally a part of a generational society, right? So this Immortal Fist has been around since like forever. Since like probably BC not BC times. I was gonna say the Roman era because they had a show where they showed it, the Iron Fist from that time period. Those ones right there, yeah, that one's the Daredevil inspired. So it's like you can start off with him having a really ripped costume, something simple, like he doesn't even look like he wears something that complicated in the comics. It literally looks like he's just wearing something that he found from Goodwill, which is not that much. It's just tight-fitting stuff, so he can move around. He is very agile, and most of the stuff that you see, I mean, this chi that he churns, he like uses in the show. He only uses it to punch stuff, which is so cool. He just punches things, but in the comics, he can literally transfer his consciousness. He can have mental abilities. He can use it to do lots of other things. He can absorb energy. He can transfer energy. He can be extremely. It can enhance all of his senses, kind of like Daredevil a little bit, which is why he took the mantle of Daredevil during Civil War comic books. But yeah, that's the thing with this character, is that characters like this are kind of similar to the Zemo character, where they're generational, and just completely deleting the entire costume is not only lazy, and for a TV show to not even attempt a costume, let alone a Marvel TV show, they have the money. Let me tell you what, they had the money. Even if they don't, have you seen these cosplayers? If cosplayers can do it, and they're regular working class people, I guarantee you a corporation that makes films can afford these costumes. So it's not hard. You just have to try. And sometimes trying is too hard, and they just give up and put black suit and tie, black pants, black shorts, no shirt. Except for if it's a woman's show, then she has to be wearing a leather jacket and, I don't know, maybe something with a bunch of zippers on it, right? But, okay, so, yeah, this is my attempt to, the MCU one on the left there. And on the right is my second attempt at making a suit that maybe he came back, and that's what he looked like, And I was trying to do different things with the mask. The reason why I didn't make a mask like the one in the show is because that's the wrong mask. He always wears a half mask, and I just think, oh, Daredevil wore a half mask, and so I don't know. Maybe if he doesn't wear the mask in the very first season, you could have had him meet Daredevil and then him be inspired by Daredevil. But here's the thing. That's me trying to make sense of it in the movie. But it already makes sense because what the Immortal Iron Fist is, like I said before, a generational character. So there have been other people in the line who've worn this costume. And so when people become the Iron Fist, Danny Rand comes along. He becomes the 66th version of the Iron Fist or whatever. And well, he just decides to not wear a costume. You know, see how it doesn't really make sense. But let's just assume that he became Iron Fist and just didn't know what the costumes looked like, right? Maybe something happened in Kong Long and he never got a chance to see what the other Iron Fists looked like. I mean, there probably would be statues of these people because they're legendary heroes, like Shang-Chi's mother, right, in that movie. She was a hero that protected her society, kind of like the Iron Fist, a little bit. And that dragon, you know, they had statues of those people and stuff. And so it's like, let's just assume that for some reason, he has no idea what the Iron Fists have ever looked like. He gets the Iron Fist. And by the way, the show should have shown him becoming, like slowly becoming the Iron Fist. Like, yeah, having him appear and suddenly be all weird and like hobo-y is shocking. And then have him reveal that he's this crazy character, you know. I see the shock value to it, but it really should have been a back and forth situation, or it should have been like a flashback. It should have been like he comes, they don't believe what happened to him, and then maybe it goes back to years ago when he was a kid, and maybe throughout the show he goes back and forth between his childhood as slowly becoming the Iron Fist, and then his adult life, the stuff that he's dealing with, like fighting thugs in New York, because that's what it means to be Iron Fist. I guess. Instead of protecting Kunlun from dragons and monsters and shit, you're in New York fighting some guys in jeans and a t-shirt with a gun. Easy, easy shit. You know, compared to fighting a dragon. That's just nothing. You know, and then there are certain parts of the show that don't make sense. Like he'll get beat up sometimes, and you're like, huh? Didn't you train your entire life to become the Iron Fist? It's not like he went to a vacation once when he was a little kid, left and came back, lived his entire life in America, and then went back to Kunlun as an adult. He became lost as a child. They brought him on this trip when he was a kid, and then he grew up from elementary age all the way to adulthood, fighting, training to become this immortal warrior, only for him to get his ass kicked constantly. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. So I don't know who was working on that show, but they clearly just like handed it to somebody who had no idea what the character was. They thought it was a ninja show, and they were like, oh yeah, let's just have him be Bruce Lee and have his shirt off, which is so great. But that's not the character. If you wanted to make a Bruce Lee show, you should have just made a Bruce Lee show with a white fucking Jewish guy. But you didn't. You did do that, but you shouldn't have done that because that was fucking weird and it was boring and it sucked for everyone. And it was super fucking boring. I mean, half the characters, if they didn't have the subtitles or the names, I would not even know that those were the characters. You know what I mean? So this is why the costumes are not just important, but it is literally a reflection of their identity. Especially when it's a mantle type character. When you have a mantle type character, you cannot ditch the costume. It literally is not allowed. But you have to have the costume in some way, shape, or form, because the mantle is like, it's like passing down the name of generation to generation, and it's like this warrior that's existed forever. So it seems like to the civilians in their world, it seems like it's one person that's always existed. And by having a character that doesn't wear their costume, breaks the illusion of the civilians in their universe. So it makes them go, wait a minute, it hasn't been one guy this whole time. Like Black Panther, for example. Black Panther has been a generational thing passed from person to person through generations and generations. So it seems like the Black Panther is one being. I mean, it's like they know in their society, they know that the Black Panther is their king, and they know that the king, dies and another one was replaced. But you get the idea. It's like some heroes are like that, where people don't know their identities. regular normal people who aren't heroes, who are just regular normal people in their society, in their worlds. They see these heroes and they think that they've just been the same heroes forever. Like Flash, for example, has he has a mantle, right? So uh, Barry Allen, he passes his mantle to Wally and then Wally to Bart, and then it's just like everybody else just thinks that it's the same Flash. Kind of the same with Robin. Like every time Joker, there was a comic that showed Joker talking about Robin and how he thought that Robin was always the same kid, and so he went out to kill Robin, only for him to reappear, obviously as Tim Drake, but only we know that. Like in the comic, Joker was talking about how like he didn't even know that there were different Robins. He thought it was just one kid, and he was like, "I killed him, and he came back, and I don't even know what happened." So it's like the point is these characters, it breaks the illusion, and these, especially when it's like when it has like such an intense meaning behind it, you know, not like a character like you could say like you could make an argument for Batman because it's just like, he made his own like mantle, right? But a mantle like this, like the Iron Fist, it's something that's existed almost in their society since probably the beginning of the creation of their society. I don't know who the first Iron Fist was, but obviously, just like Black Panther, it's someone important in their society that is shown time and time and time again appearing and helping out people, using the power of their chi to have extreme strength. And so, and there's alternate universes, obviously there's different Iron Fists. But this drawing that you see me here making was so in the Defenders show. There's a moment where the Iron Fist actually fights Daredevil and Luke Cage for a second, and it's kind of cool because it's the first time they're ever meeting each other, and of course they're fighting, kind of just like the Avengers. When they first meet each other, they literally are fighting each other for the first time. And so this was my idea of that scene, but maybe him wearing that very first costume that I had shown before, where it shows his chest having the symbol, but then he is just wearing like, regular working out type clothing that's very tight to his body because that's what Iron Fist wears. I mean, you wouldn't see Danny Rand walking around in a trench coat, or baggy jeans. This man needs to be able to do kicks, flips, and he can't do that in clothes that constrict him. So he needs to have things that are tight to his body that allow him to freely move. And so, obviously, that's the one I went with. And Luke Cage is honestly comic accurate, believe it or not. He just wears a yellow t-shirt in some versions. And that's what they did in the TV show, which I didn't mind. And then also, you might not notice, but some of my colors, I'm running out of ink in them, and so I'm running out of red and yellow. Just a little fun fact there. But yeah, that was my idea there. That when he first meets Daredevil, it's in costume, so it's like it felt weird. Like the weird thing about that Defender show is that I wanted it to be better in a sense where I wanted to feel like it was like a superhero show, and it just felt like a bunch of random people who didn't want to be together, didn't really form a group, but just kind of stayed together until their problem was resolved, and then they never met each other again. In the very ending, they fight Elektra, who's resurrected, and when I say they fight Elektra, I mean like Danny Rand fought her by himself, and then eventually Daredevil fought her by himself, and I don't even remember Jessica Jones or Luke Cage even fighting them together. Like, I don't remember if they even fought Elektra or if they were there while other people were fighting Elektra. Like, they should have all been fighting her as a team at the same time. And that's the image that you see me doing here, where they're all together, right? It's not Danny Rand versus Elektra and round two, Daredevil versus Elektra. It's Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jewel, Jessica Jones, whatever, and Iron Fist versus Elektra. Them fighting her, all those people at the same time. That's what should have happened. That's what the climax of the show should have been. And I get it. The climax of the show was that a building was dropped on Daredevil and Elektra. Daredevil survived because he's got to have a season 3. Elektra died because she doesn't have a season 3. Plot armor, basically. But if you had it so they were there, they were all there when the building collapsed. Luke Cage and Jessica Jones literally can hold up that building. They are that strong. So can Iron Fist, honestly. And you could be like, oh, that's the reason that Daredevil survived. Because he had 3 powerful people, friends, helping him out. And so, yeah, he may be a little messed up. And then you should have it so they dropped him off at the church, which is what happens in season 3 of Daredevil, the regular show. But they didn't do that. They did it so it was just like 3 random looking people that don't look like heroes at all. People that you meet at like McDonald's. And Daredevil, and then Luke, and then Jessica, and Danny was there, and they were fighting Elektra, this immortal, the resurrected, I don't know, murderer or something. I can't remember. They gave her a name, but Elektra's fine because it's literally her name. But yeah, so this is what I'm drawing here. And this version that I used, and that version is I like to use a new one every time. But let's just say that instead of that last one that he used, that maybe he was wearing this the whole time. Maybe he has like this is a low budget costume. Literally, like he's wearing black pants with a little bit of yellow on it, and the little bands across his knees. You may think I made that up, but that's actually, I used to have pants that look like that, and they bended at the knees, and they were kind of layered like that, only at the knees. And I always thought that was a really cool design, and so that was my idea behind those pants. He's not wearing any gloves. His hands just glow like that because he can do it with both hands. As most people think he can only do it with just one hand. He actually can. I'm almost pretty sure he can do that like with his entire body. It's chi energy, so he can like transfer it to his mind, to his fists. I'm pretty sure he probably even can do it with his feet. But Iron Feet doesn't sound right, so Iron Fist it is. And so. Yeah, my idea was that maybe if you want to go so low budget that you just don't want to do absolutely anything, is just you can get a mask, half mask, which is literally just a yellow cloth that covers one half of his face, which he should already have something like that. And then maybe he finds a hoodie, and then he the symbol on his chest burns through the hoodie. So maybe you can do that. You don't have to do it exactly like I did. It's just these are my ideas that I came up with. I just came up with 6 suits that I came up with at the top of my head. If you don't like any of them, that's fine. I inspire you to come up with your own. And I would love to see them if that ever happens. And anybody ever makes their own. But that's the whole point of this show, is just to be creative. Don't be afraid to use a little color. Don't be afraid to try different stuff. If you make a costume and you don't like it, then you can keep tweaking it until you find it how you like it, kind of like how I do. Like there's some times where I'll make a costume and I won't like it at first, and so I'll erase it like 1,000 times until I find the costume I do like. But it's don't be afraid to just come up with anything. Use your imagination. Very important. Very important to use color, by the way, too. I know I say that a lot, but having characters just wearing straight up black just needs to fucking stop. It's just, we're done. We've had 1,000 Matrix movies. We've had 1,000 variants of those movies that are people just wearing black in action movies. Those are action movies. When people just wear black and they do stuff in them, they do action stuff. When it comes to superhero stories, these characters have history, and if at all costs you don't like their history, the least you can do is put something meaningful that resembles who they once were. Because looking at a character's costume and being like, nah, I'm not even gonna try, fuck it, I'll just put pants on him and we'll keep the tattoo, is deleting like 90% of his personality and leaving us with a husk, which is what that show was, which is why it was so boring. If you had done things like shown us his journey to becoming Iron Fist, maybe going back and forth between him being a kid and an adult, maybe don't even do that. Maybe start with him as a kid, you know? If, weren't there people watching this, Weren't there test groups where they were watching this stuff? I feel like some of these projects, they just flesh out. They don't even watch the shows. They make them, and then they put them together, and then they just toss them out. They don't watch. You have to watch your own stuff. It's like, I don't imagine, it's like, can anyone watch through Iron Fist without being tragically bored to their minds, So, I made 3 different action scenes here. I made the one where Iron Fist fights Daredevil and Luke Cage. I made the second one where you see the team up with the Defenders versus Elektra. And so this one here is a little dream of mine that when Infinity War came around and Endgame came around, there's that scene that on your left where all the heroes came out behind Captain America. You know the one I'm talking about. But the moment when Doctor Strange went, "Is that everybody?" And what's his name? Wong looked at him and said, "Did you want more people to come out?" And I literally in that moment was like, yeah, where's the Defenders? I literally thought that was going to be the moment that Defenders were going to come on screen. We were going to see them alongside the heroes. But it didn't happen. It's like I was literally, I'll tell you how much of a nerd I am. When that scene happened in the theaters, I literally cried because it was so perfect. It was literally like watching a comic book come to life. That scene. But what would have made it even more perfect is if the Defenders are there and in their comic book costumes. And so that's what you're seeing here. It's just my attempt to put them in the movie somehow. I don't know where this would be, but I just wanted to make an image of Iron Fist and Luke Cage punching Thanos in the face, because that's probably something that they would do. Then it's like the friendship between Danny Rand and Luke Cage actually becomes better. It becomes more. They become kind of like really, really good friends, and they do the Heroes for Hire thing, which I kind of try to put a sign down there of maybe that's where it starts. The Avengers literally hire them to help them during Infinity War, Endgame, or something. Maybe Tony does. I don't know. You can put it anywhere you want, but it was just my dream of having them involved, having them fight Thanos. So that way it's like everyone is helping out, not just the big top characters that they always say, oh, it's just the Avengers helping saving the world. But then in this way, when season 2 comes around of Iron Fist, you can literally say, I help save the world because I am the Immortal Iron Fist, like I've been saying this whole time, and I'm here to save the world. I'm here to save Kunlun, and Thanos snapping half of reality. Well, that's got to do with Kunlun, so I don't know why he wasn't there to stop Thanos. And the Eternals have no excuse. They say they only stop deviants. Thanos is half deviant. That's why he's purple. Anyways, enough ranting. So yeah, that's my idea. This costume here that you see is my MCU version. And as you can see, I tried to make kind of like a sneaky collar in there. Maybe one that kind of like protects the sides of his face, perhaps. I was trying to find a way to sneak it in there without making it too ridiculous. And he's not wearing gloves, by the way. It's supposed to be where his hands are just glowing. But there was one that I made, the shirtless one, where he had kind of like these metal binds, like something that Wonder Woman would wear. But that was just another idea I came up with. You don't have to do that, obviously, like I said before. You can make your own versions. This is just what I came up with. And, yeah, I would love to see them. And that's all I got. So thanks for watching.